It's a privilege to be here. So many enlightened souls sitting here. We always say, Omkaram bindu samyuktam nityam dhyayanti yoginaha kamadam mokshadam chaiva omkaraya namo namaha. The energy comes from many sources. Such a beautiful presentation we had just before this, talking about pyramid energy. From when you started meditation, so probably as long as we can go back in the history, the creation itself, that's when the Omkara, which has started, and that's when the energy started flowing, and that's the connect between all of us. Today, I'm going to talk little technical and little general, all stuff related to meditation, and pick the topic neural correlates of meditation because that's what I have worked last 30 years with an understanding the influence of meditation on various neural generators and neural aspects of our brain, which actually can make us more efficient and do multiple things which we are listening to. So if you look at this particular graph, we know that we have amazing capacity as far as the brain, and that 10% provides that variable experience. Whatever we are trying to do, we are trying to manipulate, modify, change, etc., the 10% of variable brain. That doesn't mean that the 90% of the brain is rigid and nothing is going to happen to that 90% of the brain. There's so much which can happen when you really want to play with that. That's what we call it as plasticity, which continues till the last breath of our life. There are multiple factors which can influence. So amongst which we have two of them on top. One is the health and lifestyle preferences. So today we are talking all about lifestyle preferences. Probably if you can have that selected voluntary preference of your lifestyle, then the social context and environment can also have an impact on your neural plasticity. Whereas other things like neurogenesis as well as neurocognitive modifications, these can probably be modified or influenced through various other mechanisms, which one of which is meditation, which we are talking about. So hence we call these either as intrinsic mechanism or extrinsic mechanism. So we are going to talk all about meditation. I'm not going to give the details of how meditation has initiated. 5,000 plus years is what we relate in as yoga practitioners, because that's where you have some proper references for the use of yoga and meditation, bringing it back to Patanjali's time. But you also have some references which we can take from the Western perspective of meditation. Thank you. Which probably you can take to a word which is a Latin word. And once again you take it back to the origin, it will take you back to the fundamental understanding of the concept of union, concept of merging yourself, and to really explore that which is not known. And present day, in the last 2 centuries, meditation and the applications of meditation have been explored in detail. And research in meditation also has gone into quite of a depth. And today we can see its connection. I'm going to bring the part of understanding meditation. So we have in Ashtanga Yoga, meditation forming the 7th limb called dhyana. But it is not an isolated limb. It's always a progression of yamas and niyamas followed by asana, pranayama, pratyahara and dharana, which leads to dhyana and of course culminates in samadhi, and it's not in isolation. Today meditation is also picked in isolation and meditation is also practiced in isolation. But however you take, there are principles of do's and don'ts and principles which you need to follow as part of lifestyle, which is part of your meditation technique. I want to bring your attention to one of the shlokas in the lower part, which says that meditative transformation is the simultaneous reduction of distractions on one side and enhanced focus of awareness on the other side. as many applications of meditation you talk about, this is what we are aiming at. We want to achieve a state which is inducing alert full rest on one side. We are alert yet relaxed. We are avoiding distractions yet we are enhancing our focused state of being. When we really want to do research, we will come across some issues like this. Somebody wants to do meditation like that or under a pyramid. Now I want to bring that person, a great meditator, into my laboratory and I want to test him. So many people ask the question that can you produce the same effect of meditation as that of an individual sitting in a pyramid or sitting under a tree and versus bringing the same person to a laboratory? Answer is certainly yes and no. No, when you have a novice, somebody who is very new to meditation and the surroundings can impact and the kind of the sensors and other things what you are going to put on an individual can influence his attention. Whereas if you bring an accomplished meditator, it doesn't matter where you are putting that individual, he will get into meditation. Okay, whether eyes closed or eyes open doesn't matter. You just need to be somebody who can tune yourself to meditation. There are 3 reasons why people took up meditation research. Number 1, certainly curiosity. Many great yoga and meditators started explaining or started reporting some exceptional feats being possible by the practice of meditation. And of course, many people started quoting the health benefits of meditation while its application including in disease management. Earliest recorded research can be taken back to 19th century. This is one old image of Swami Kuvalyananda of Kaivalyadam doing this study with a great yoga master who is also a meditator, putting him in an underground pit and studying his brain functions. What exactly happens when you put an individual deprived of all other inputs, including oxygen, and study what happens to his brain. Similar studies were done not just with 1 or 2 or 3 such masters. Many of them have demonstrated some exceptional feats. This is Krishnamacharya, many of you might have heard. He could demonstrate his ability to control autonomic functions with his practice. Ramananda Yogi is another one, once again demonstrated an exceptional feat of reducing the metabolic function to almost nil with the practice of meditation. While Paramahamsa Yogananda is a known personality, so we always look at the great yoga practices what these great yoga masters have given. But at the same time, as researchers, we always have looked at to research what their contribution is. Each one of them have given those amazing contributions. The terminology physiological hibernation is what we picked from several studies of Paramahamsa Yogananda. This study is amazing of Swami Rama, where he could demonstrate the phenomenon of bringing electrical activity of the heart to a straight line. So this is autonomic regulation. Once again, whatever I'm going to take in my last slide to its influence on brainstem. So Swami Rama also demonstrated another study where he could selectively regulate his temperature in his palm as per his selection. This is one very well-known study published in American Heart Journal, which suggested that a meditator could stay in an underground pit for 7 long days, and his ECG remained as a straight line. So the third C, what you see here, is what people have observed as his ECG for 7 long days. So these are some exceptional studies. This was followed by studies conducted on transcendental meditation of Maharishi Mahesh Yogi in the West. So why I'm telling all these stories are today we have a lot of evidence on meditation research. If you look at yoga research, 60% of publications come from meditation research alone, while small amount of publications come from pranayama, asana and other studies. As on today, probably you will find around 10,000 plus publications available, and that's what gives us an indication that what we are looking at is this special ability. When you look at the brain as something extraordinary, there is a special ability, as I started telling. The 2 aspects. One is functional plasticity. Plasticity basically talks about changeability, ability to change. So there is functional plasticity. The functioning of the brain can be changed. And second one is structural plasticity. The structural plasticity can probably happen in two ways. One is simply by increasing the dendritic branching of the neurons. The second one is probably you can generate new neurons themselves, neurogenesis, which is also possible. So I'm going to just rush you through some of the studies what we have conducted looking at these two aspects, both the plasticity at a functional level as well as structural level. We have multiple things. Some of these may be a bit technical. You can understand brain functions in a simpler way using electroencephalogram. Electroencephalogram looks at the electrical activity of the brain. Okay, so you can also look at giving a stimulus to the brain and its response to the stimulus, what we call it as evoke potentials. We can also look at how the vegetative functions are maintained through autonomic functions, autonomic nervous system, and also look at imaging. So you want more details, precision, like which part of the brain is active, which part of the brain is inhibited, its activity, you can look at functional MRI. So this is one study. I mean, I put it in particular because morning Daji's amazing talk also led us few years back where we had, in collaboration with the Heartfulness Meditation Center, this study looking at EEG changes and particularly in heartfulness meditators. So this, in brief, gives you a kind of an idea what probably can happen when you do heartfulness meditation. This is looking at heartfulness meditators on top and non-meditators, and of course the comparison where individuals just stayed with breath awareness. Breath awareness is not the breath awareness what we are talking, meditative breath awareness. This is just at random breathing. So similarly, when you really want to look at, compare them at baseline and during meditation, what this suggests is very interesting. So heartfulness meditation probably is something which makes your brain more relaxed at one stage, takes your brain function to much deeper level of relaxation. Okay, as you can see, going closer to your state of deep sleep, and at the same time you can maintain your activity very well. So, as I said, apart from EEG, you can also give a stimulus and look at the brain's response, what we do it in evoke potentials. So we have done lots of studies. This is one of that study which looked at auditory evoke potential. I give a click to the ear and I see the response in the brain. What is the difference between a meditator versus a non-meditator? There are two factors which emerge in this. When you are giving a click, some amount of nerve cells, neurons, have to receive the information and respond to it. When you are a meditator, the number of neurons recruited to do this activity increases. Okay? And the time taken, information processing in the brain becomes much quicker. More neurons recruited it's something like, okay, there are two groups of neurons sitting here in this hall. One group is actively participating while the other group is not participating, and then this last row of this group simply pull the next row on the other side and say that, why are you sitting quiet? Why can't you join me so that we can do something together? More number of neurons are pulled like that to do this activity of meditation. So that's how you establish coherence over a period of time. Similarly, when you look at multiple other activities, okay, you seriously want to say different mental states. As we always say, you cannot just jump into meditation directly. From a state of chanchalata, you go to ekagrata, dharana and dhyana. So what exactly happens to your brain when you go through these is what we have studied in this series of studies. We looked at the brainstem auditory evoke potential, which is something which acts as the basic filter for the information getting into your brain. And what exactly happens at your thalamo-cortical levels. The thalamus is an area which acts as a relay center. Any information gets into that part, it decides where to send it or not to send it. So what exactly happens when you do these kind of tasks? And it is very clear that probably you can influence these relay centers significantly through the practice of meditation. We have also looked at the higher its influence on the association cortices. Like, okay, the relay center is there, now the job has to be done by another part of the brain. So whether all of them are connected to do this job? Yes. So fantastic coordination with the relay center as well as association cortex was also seen here. This is a summation of several meditation studies. I also have in particular Brahma Kumari Raja Yoga meditation. We have worked with Brahma Kumaris for the last around 25-30 years. Thanks to the Mount Abu Center and all others, Bangalore Center, to everyone. Whenever we have approached them, they were always there to support us for research. Thank you very much, sister. So this study also demonstrates that there are few meditation techniques which predominantly work at the brainstem level, while others can work at different other parts of the brain. This is the summation of some of the meditation techniques put over here. We also have, can you improve your cognition? Cognition is the combination of functions of your brain. It includes your attention, perception, as well as information processing and memory. So this particular study demonstrated that yes, you can improve and modify the cognitive processing in the brain. Particularly, there are generators of cognitive evoked potentials which can be connected well, networking can be done well, and you can actually efficiently perform your cognitive task, is what this study shows. And this is a graph from the same study. Beyond electrical activity, you can also look at the blood flow changes within the brain, cortical blood flow changes using functional near-infrared spectroscopy. So we have done a couple of studies. One of it suggests that the prefrontal cortex, just behind your forehead, it acts as a boss of your whole brain. So that is also called as a character cortex, which regulates all of the functions. So probably meditation is one such technique which can directly have an impact on your prefrontal cortex, the areas which regulate your attentional processes like dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, anterior cingulate, etc. Time and again we have seen these kind of results. These are the blood flow changes. Particularly the orange one suggests the oxyhemoglobin levels in the prefrontal cortex, while the blue one suggests the deoxyhemoglobin levels. What is the importance of it? Withdrawal of activity produces deoxyhemoglobin levels. Activity increases oxyhemoglobin levels. So probably this suggests that increased activity in this part of the brain, like there is, at the same time, there was also a decreased activity in the right prefrontal cortex seen, and there was more of an inhibition shown during that phase of the study, but followed by the total hemoglobin. See, what happens is when you add both of them, then you get the total hemoglobin level, which significantly goes up in this part of the brain. That's what has been shown in this. So I talked about the brainstem. So all these functions are regulated by your brainstem. And meditation has time and again shown that it can bring in amazing control on your autonomic function. The stress response comes from your particularly from your autonomic nervous system. You can regulate them, you can reduce your heart rate, respiration, etc., etc. And the different phases of meditation have their own signature effect on this. And this is the imaging demonstrating the same. Like when you move from Chanchalata, Ekagrata to Dharana, the middle one, what you see here, this is the functional MRI study, which shows that there is highly significant activation in the frontal lobe and the areas connected with memory. While when you look at dhyana, apart from the stimulation, there are lots of areas which maintain deactivation or inhibition. That's what is beautiful here. Okay, we are not doing any task. I am just sitting quiet. What is happening to my brain? What we call it as a resting stage of the brain, default mode network. That also suggests that the connectivity in the brain is highly regulated if you are a meditator. That's the beauty of meditative practices. Having said that, you can look at, these are some of the studies done at NIMHANS, etc. One particular study on Om suggesting that this can be as equal to that of a vagal stimulation, okay, which produces the deactivation of the whole system. And similarly, this can also trigger the long-term benefits, including the ability to reduce reactivity. We are all interested to know, can meditation reduce the reactivity? This study has demonstrated this. And the last part of my talk is just, there are very few studies, but to add to neural plasticity, is it only functional? No, it is also structural. Structure of the brain can change. This is very famous study conducted by Sarah Lasser in US, which talks about particular areas of the brain becoming thick when you practice meditation. And this was followed by several other studies looking at those areas of emotional cortex which can probably be regulated very well through the practice of meditation, and also long-term practice of meditation, resulting in the increased thickness in the brainstem area. Why I came back to the first part and last part to the same brainstem area is all those great yoga masters who demonstrated that autonomic regulation is possible. ECG can become a straight line, but this study also demonstrated that the cortical thickness at the brainstem increases significantly when meditators for a duration of 14 to 35 years could demonstrate this increased thickness. Finally, the whole purpose of meditation can be picked according to your objectives. But what we look at in a simpler way for any normal individual is, can we reverse that stress response? What you see on to your left is what happens to your brain during stress and what meditation can do. Simply, the downward up stimulation can be reversed through the practice of meditation. What you can see, frontal lobe can detect, and direct all the activities in these individuals, and that's the beauty of meditation. So, meditation should be considered as one of the areas where you can use it as a fantastic tool. Don't stop at the level of meditation. Meditation should always culminate in that pure state of being, which is samadhi. Each one of us get into this phase each time when you do meditation, and that's the goal of each one of us. And we use meditation as a stepping stone to reach there and establish ourselves in that spiritual absorption called samadhi. I thought just share, bring these very hardcore components of research and look at how we can demonstrate scientifically that there is a possibility of neural plasticity. You don't need to do anything. You do meditation. It all happens. Thank you very much.
For more details about Project Excellence, write to us at excellence@buddhaceo.org.